Our third message is entitled, From a People to a Nation. The making of a nation. You recall we began yesterday with the promise that God gave of a Messiah. That this Messiah must come, and this Messiah would solve the problem of the curse of Israel. And we saw also how, because of man's rebellion against God, there was a dispersion that took place where we see today the existence of nation states. And from then, it was God's plan to begin a nation that will be a witness to all the nations of the world. And this is what we saw yesterday. And what is it that God made for the nation of Israel that made them special, a witness to the nations of the world? God was, or has vested Israel to carry the knowledge of man's origin, his fall, his redemption through Messiah. The Apostle Paul gave these words in Romans chapter 3. He says, "What advantage then has the Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision?" Well, circumcision was a sign of the covenant that God gave to Israel, that he would fulfill his promise to Abraham concerning the nation that he would raise to be a witness from which the Messiah would come. Much every way, Paul says, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. And we saw the beginning, how God called Abraham, and we saw the transition, how from there, in the third generation, fourth generation, Jacob went into Egypt, and there, by the auspices of Joseph, they were given a land of incubation in Goshen. And then after 400 years, we see the exodus out of Egypt as a people. So they have become a multitude. And we would notice how that gathering of the people that took 650 years, 250 years for Israel to be kingdom, and another 400 years in Egypt. And then they begin to leave Egypt to become a nation. And we mentioned that a nation consists of a people and the law, the constitution of the nation, how they would live that life that would make them a witness to the living and true God. A separation unto holiness. God taught them how to be a people that can draw so nigh, so close to God. And God gave to them the blueprint for the tabernacle. And God was in the process bringing them to the land. This is where we stopped yesterday. And the Lord said to Israel before they entered the land, in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5, it says here, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and commandments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, which has God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? You see, what distinguished Israel as a nation? God provided them with the information on their origin. Where did they come from? How did God lead them to this stage of man's existence? And then the Lord, through Moses, reminded them before they entered the promised land that God would make them a great nation because they would practice the laws of God that would distinguish them as a people of God. Especially the day when thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they shall teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of the heaven, with darkness and clouds and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess. So the laws of God became the constitution of the nation of Israel. It provided them the blueprint by which God would cause them to dwell with the blessings of God upon earth. And so you see how God provided them with an understanding of the laws that govern the relationship of men in this universe. And 2 aspects of it is summarized in 10 commandments. Firstly, his relationship to God and his relationship to other men. That is perfect and holds true all the time. And how this was articulated amidst lightning and thundering when God gave them the law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughters, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth. You see the connection there? And all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they removed and stood afar. Well, God spoke in very clear way. This was the distinction or distinctive of the nation of Israel. Cicero in the Republic, he tells us of this law, the greatness of it. He says, there is indeed a true law, right reason, conformable to nature, diffused among all, unchanging, eternal, which is by commanding, urges to duty, by prohibiting, deters from fraud, not in vain commanding or prohibiting the good, though by neither moving the wicked. This law cannot be abrogated, nor may anything be drawn from it. It is in the power of no senate of people to set us free from it, nor is there to be sought any extraneous teacher or interpreter of it. It shall not be one law in Rome, another in Athens, and one now and one at some future time, but one law, alike eternal and unchangeable, shall bind all nations through all time, and shall be the common teacher, as it were, and the governor of all. God, who is himself the author, administrator, and exactor of his law. And so you see, the law of our land has that origin. Singapore law came from Indian law, and Indian law came from British law came from Roman law, and Roman law came from God's law. And that is why you would see there is in it kept, like the one that we have in the section 377A, where we said no to the relationship between men and woman and a woman. Why is that in the law of Singapore? Because it was in the British common law, which we inherit from the Indian, the British, from God's law. And that is significant because it provides for us the basis for life in the family unit. And so, what is the greatest need for men? To return to God, to return to His Word, to return to understand man's position in this vast universe. And so what is the sum of the 10 Commandments? To love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our strength and all our mind, and our neighbor as ourselves. God provides us this wonderful law for our existence. And this will be the law that governs all nations. And all who learn it, know it, it will prosper. You realize how the people of God are to love the being of God. We are to love the worship of God. We are to love the name of God. We are to love the representative of God. We are to love the body of man, the morality of man, the property of man, the personality of man, the prosperity of man. And only God, when we draw nigh to Him, is able to give us that love, His love, supernaturally, to be able to fulfill His law, to observe His commandments. And here we realize how Israel is to be that nation that God has created in order to reflect the very presence of God in their life. And so God vested Israel with His word, and with His word comes the instruction of the knowledge of worship, how to approach God. And you realize that there's only one nation in the world that God created, whereby God gave the blueprint by which men may worship Him. In the construction of the tabernacle when Israel was in the wilderness, and in the construction of the temple when they were in the promised land. This is a picture of the tabernacle. And you would notice right at the bottom, there is an altar of burnt offering. What was that purpose of Israel instructed by God to bring an offering to God? Well, it was a precursor of the offering of the Messiah, Christ, finally upon the cross. He is that sacrifice. And you see, Israel was asked to literally bring their lamb, bring their goats to the temple, or to here the tabernacle that was built in the wilderness, in order that they may approach, they may understand the way by which God can be approached. It is by way of the shed blood of the animal that will be that substitute for their sins. And so Israel was a nation that God has vested to provide a picture, a visible picture of Messiah, of the Savior that God has anointed to be the Savior of the world. And you notice, you see here the burnt offering that the offerer brought to the gates, and how it will be killed, and the blood was shed, and the offering given wholly to God. And right in the middle, right in the midst of the tabernacle, here consists of the approach of the priest to God, the holy place and the Holy of Holies. And here, in the most holy place, God will place the Ark of the Covenant, and then is kept for us the very oracles of God that God wrote, the Ten Commandments. God wrote His law on the Ten Commandments, and God asked Moses to keep a pot of the manna in which they received from the sky daily for 40 years. This was how God fed them. This was a visible picture of God, how God sustained them. And Aaron's rod that budded, that God has a way by which He is to be approached through the Aaronic priesthood. There is a way by which God has instituted, and it's a picture of the presence of God with His people, and above all this in the ark is the covering, the mercy seat, whereby the presence of God would come to His people. And so you see, you notice when the tabernacle's blueprint was given, for the first time in human history, God would come to dwell with men. Exodus chapter 14. On the first day of the first month, thou shalt set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And he railed up the cords, that's Moses, round about the tabernacle, and the altar set up hanging to the cord gate. And so Moses finished the work. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. First time in human history, God came to dwell with men. And Moses was not able to enter in the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode thereon, and the cloud of the Lord filled the presence of God with his people. For the first time in human history, God has provided a way by which men can approach him. And when the cloud was taken out from the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in their journey. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they journeyed all the day, till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and the cloud on it by night, in the sight of all Israel throughout all their journey. So this was what God did for Israel. The presence of God in the worship of God through them. And that was the purpose. God asked them to leave Egypt, leave all the idols in Egypt, to be separated. And only there in the wilderness, in the midst of nothing, God enabled them to create a picture of how he's to be approached. And then you would see, when Israel had entered into the land, how God commanded Israel to build the temple. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel would come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the second month, that he began to build the temple of the Lord. It took 7 years to build. Blessed be the Lord that hath given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he has promised. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant. So that's 480th year after they left Egypt, that God now would establish them in the land, and the Lord would provide the blueprint for the building of the temple. And the glory of God is going to be manifested in a very real way. They were a people, God gave them the law, they had the constitution, the nation, and then God brought them into the land. And there in the land, God instituted worship. And let this word, this my words, wherewith I have made supplication, Solomon says, before the Lord, be nigh unto the Lord, our God, day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter should require, that all the people of the earth may know that the Lord is God, and there is none. You see, that was the purpose of the creation of Israel. The glory that came to the temple. And it came to pass, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared unto him. And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house which thou hast built to put my name there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. So God will, for the first time in human history, dwell with a nation. He instituted the worship. And so we have seen how the Lord brought them out of Egypt, and how God established the temple, the completion of the temple. was the high point of Israel's history, where the nations of the world understood that there is a God in Israel, and this is the living and true God. This is another picture of what we have seen concerning what God has done. May the Lord help us to understand what glory, what grace He had placed upon His people to be a witness for Him.